it's so weird how much impact something like that has.
Yeah.
For me, like Evil Dead, and I was talking to Ashley in the car. If I were to say like my top 2 favorite horror movies, it would probably be Evil Dead 2 and Shaun of the Dead. And so that again goes to what I like in a horror movie, the more comedic thing.
Right.
And it's funny because I saw Evil Dead 2 first before I
Okay.
saw The Evil Dead.
And that's a franchise too where I don't think
You
that
could
it
watch-
matters what order you watch it in.
And then I watched Army of Darkness.
Uh-huh.
So to go to those and then go back to the first one,
Yeah.
it's a totally different thing. But
Right.
I mean, I could talk for hours about this, but I don't know. If I were to rank the 3 of them,
Yeah.
it would be Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 1, and that's only
Really?
because I have to put it somewhere. Now, if we were including the remake, I don't know. 'Cause
See,
I really, really liked that remake.
The remake is I do too, but the remake is like a totally different vibe than the original.
Because
You know what I mean?
I think we've been. For me, I think we were so used to seeing Bruce Campbell
Right.
and the more silliness of it.
Yeah.
Because this is definitely harking, like that remake was very much like supposed to be like the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which one did you see the first movie first? Did you actually watch them?
I watched them in order. Yeah. So I knew of the Evil Dead. Well, actually, I saw the remake first. Yeah. Well, because like I knew of the Evil Dead and I knew Bruce Campbell and I like knew the story. And I actually didn't watch the original 3 until like 3 years ago, and instantly fell in love with the first one because of how like kitschy and plucky it is, because like these people were trying to make a movie. They were trying to make obviously like they weren't trying to make a great movie because they didn't have the budget for it, but like they were trying to make a good
fun
film.
Sam Raimi didn't even like horror movies.
Yeah.
And he really he's still alive. He really loves like, Three Stooges and stuff like that when he was growing up, and you can definitely see that inspiration in the second movie. But yeah, that first movie, they were just trying to get a movie made, and they were just trying to get a movie done to have a resume.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when somebody suggested, hey, why don't you make a horror movie? Because it's true.
They're
horror
cheap.
movies always make money. You can make them on a very small budget and make a lot of money. I mean, fucking Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity, shoestring budget, student films, and they made like the biggest franchises ever. You know? Some of the biggest ones. But I remember that, and then the more I read about it, and the more of like the fact that they made it for $379,000.
Yes.
The fact that they shot real ammo at sometimes when they were shooting the gun, I was like, that's really fucking unsafe.
Yeah.
But like just the innovations they made with the strapping the camera onto the bike and just running
with it, and it works because like how shaky it is and unsteady. You're like, oh, there is something evil running through the woods, when really it was just
the concept,
what they could do.
Even when I was watching it in high school and watching it with my friends, and look, that movie was made in 1979. And it's made for a cheap budget. It doesn't look super great sometimes.
No, yeah.
But that camera shot is so effective. And the fact that it's a franchise mainstay is because it works. Mm-hmm. Because you're right. It is, and that's what the genius of Sam Raimi. And I would say Sam Raimi's probably my one of, if not my favorite director. Mm-hmm. I've liked pretty much every movie he's made. And the reason I do it is because he makes the camera a character.
Yes.
And that's what makes Evil Dead so effective, where he's like, I can do what can I do with this camera and beat up my friend and beat up Bruce Campbell, because that's really what these movies are. But like, there's still some shots like that shot, and the fact that they made that where they're like, let's just duct tape this fucking thing to a board on a bike and just drive.
See what happens.
Or like Sam Raimi's car being in all of his movies, where they literally broke through the window of the car with the camera, and it literally is the camera coming at you. And like the movie is it's like it's pulling you in to like force you to watch it. Right. And it's kind of crazy. Like that one scene where she stabs the one gets stabbed in the ankle.
Yes. And
that is an extreme for a small budget to have that effective of a practical effect.
That was a great practical effect.
Again, watching this in high school like 10, 12 years ago, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
Like it was a really good like plasty. Like it was really, really good. And then I love how even in the first movie, it just gets madcap. It just was like, let's just go insane.
Yeah.
Where he kills her and there's like milk and green goo and shit coming out because they were trying to get the sensors.
Claymation stuff and
they're like
oh my God.
So good.
Brilliant.
And then that shitty necklace that they bring up in the second movie. I'm glad that Sam Raimi admitted that was wrong to have the tree rape scene and he regretted it.
Yeah. But then they did it in the remake and it's like worse.
Oh my God, it's so much worse than the remake.
So much worse.
I mean, does it surprise you that they put that in the movie? The same people that made Don't Breathe?
No.
They made the blind dude a rapist?
That movie is great. That
movie is so good, and then it undermines itself.
It does.
So hard in that third act.
It sure does.
I'm like, I see. Personally, I thought the twist was great because I'm like, oh, now I can hate this guy.
Yes.
But at the same time, I was just like,
I don't like this though.
I remember I saw it in theaters with Ashley. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like,
yeah, that fucking turkey baster, man.
And then they made a second movie where they tried to make it seem like he's not that bad of a guy. And
see, I didn't see the second one because I knew it wasn't going to be as good as the first one.
Why make a sequel where we follow the rapist? I just don't understand it. I don't.
Because we need to understand him, Jake.
I guess it sucks your daughter died.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you can do that.
Back to what you were saying about that podcast.
A young girl.
A lot of people die.
Yeah.
A lot of people lose loved ones.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you become a rapist.
They don't imprison women in their basements and impregnate them.
Put your jizz in a turkey base.
Oh my God.
Didn't he kill that woman?
Like he didn't. I think
she killed herself. I think.
No, I think they accidentally shot her.
Yes, they shot her.
Yeah, and then he's upset. He's like.
Well, then I was like, okay, it's bad enough you make this woman, make this character strapped out, and then you just fucking shoot her. Like, come on.
But here's my thing about that. He says that he's going to let her go after she has the baby. There's no way he's going to let her go because then he's going to deliver it. Jail.
Is he going to deliver it?
He's going to deliver it himself. I see it. Like he's down and it's like a doula birth.
Yeah, and then she's not going to fucking go to the police and be like, this man kept me in a basement and impregnated me.
That's because he would go to jail and she would have custody of that baby or give it up or whatever. And he's got to know that. Like, so it just didn't make sense.
Well, you know who doesn't have problematic characters? Evil Dead.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Let's go back. Let's get back.
So, yeah, that first movie, it was very, very impactful in the sense of like, okay, I see what they were trying to do.
Well, and it was like a fresh breath of air to the genre, you know, because you hadn't necessarily seen that kind of stuff before.
And Raimi also said he wanted to make something gruesome. He wanted to make something that's like, But, and here I'm going to tie it to another movie to just shit on it. At least Raimi knew that, yes, I can make a great gruesome movie, but it still could be a palatable movie. I'm looking at you, Tony Six, whoever the hell your name is, who made the Human Centipede movies, which I hate myself that I watched 2 of them. I didn't even bother with the third one because I heard the third one has a lot of like prison rape, and I'm like, I don't need. I'm sorry, man, but I'm one of those people who's like, when you put rape in a movie, it's like I don't want to see that. I do not want to be a part of that.
No.
It's just and then you're telling me there's going to be like gratuitous amounts of that. I'm like, why?
Yeah. Like what is the point?
But another how I'm relating back to that is he said he wanted to make a movie or a couple of movies in this case that disgusted people. I'm like, fine, but what's the point? Like, what are you getting out of? What are you getting out of that?
Have you ever seen a Serbian film?
No.
Do not, because that's it's the point. It's very disturbing. It's I will tell you, I watched it when I was at the Brownville Theater, and we were all living together. It was a bunch of actors, and we had a day where we were watching disturbing movies, and so we watched Human Centipede 2, and I think maybe we watched A Clockwork Orange, and then we watched a Serbian film.
God, Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange is its own. Oh my God! But
another movie that gets totally like I don't want to watch this because there's one scene and I'm like, no, I don't want to watch this anymore. I
know it is good though. Yeah. It is a good movie. Yeah. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah.
But so a Serbian film basically was made to shock as many people as possible, and it's been banned in a bunch of countries. And we were watching it, and
what was the name of it?
a Serbian film.
Oh, it's just called.
It's called a Serbian.
I
film.
kept thinking you keep like.
It's have you ever seen a Serbian?
That's
film?
what I was like. Are you saying all Serbian?
No.
People? Like,
It's called a Serbian film.
Yeah.
And I think it came out in like 2011-ish, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And it's so disturbing. And 3 of us physically got ill. Like we had to leave because we physically got ill. And there's rape in it, and there's incest in it, and there just a whole bunch of horrible stuff. And you're like, how did someone come up with this? Like, you have to be a depraved individual, you know? And so that kind of stuff, not here for it. Not here for it at all.
See, and I understand using the genre to like go to a darker place and go to, and I think that's important. You know, when I think about when I get really anxious and I'm getting in my own head and getting existential and all this other stuff, I try and steer into the, like what I refer to it as is like steering into the darkness. You know, just like you don't want to do that, but you need to do that to kind of get to the other side. And I think that's what horror always does.
Right.
And I think as funny as they are, I think those Evil Dead movies are a great example of Ash getting stuck with plates and plates of shit that he's got to eat before he can survive, and he always gets out of it. And I think that's what's cool about it, especially the second movie. Yeah. And I love the fact that the second movie's like, well, I guess the first movie kind of existed, maybe, I don't know, but we're going to go back to the same exact cabin anyway.
Right.
Because we don't know what and it's just one of those movies where, like, I don't care. Yeah. I watch Evil Dead 2 and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, because at that point, the movie knew what it was.
Yes.
It knew what it was. And that's why it's so fun.
That's why the second movie is my favorite, because that is when they knew what they wanted to do.
And it's absurd and it's ridiculous, but it works well.
Here's another thing, too. And another reason I like it, and you can say this about any movie, any form of art, it's really not for everybody. Because I remember
it's not.
There was one time I was watching it, and I remember it was like on Sci-Fi or something. It was just on TV. And I'm watching it, and we were with Ashley's parents, and her dad was like, I think we got to the part, which credit to him, I guess. We got to the part after he chops her head off with the shovel, and we've gotten to the part where her corpse is reanimated and dancing.
Yeah.
And then she throws the head, and it lands in his lap. That's where her dad tapped out. And I'm like, buddy, there's so much more to this movie.
I was gonna say.
But even that is funny. That is such a smart idea and it's the claymation of it shows its age, but it also shows its time, and it's a lot more fun with it. And to see that he kills his girlfriend and then her coming out of her corpse and then doing a whole like show dance number.
Right.
And then bloop, like and again, it's a cartoon. These movies are cartoons.
Yeah.
Cuz like, and then to have the head. But then to follow that up with, and now when I talk about it, it's just a roller coaster. It's just boom, banger after banger after banger. Because
like it never stops.
It's the head thing, and then it leads to the furniture laughing at him.
Yes. And I forgot about that.
Oh my god, it's so good. Like when the weird looking deer. Like
yes.
And then he starts laughing because he's going insane, and then he shoots, and then the walls start to bleed. Then it fills the whole cabin with blood and goo. Yeah. And then it stops, and then I think that's when his hand gets possessed.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. When you describe this movie out loud,
it's crazy.
It just goes.
Well, and I think that's kind of what I was talking about.
That's what works for a horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of what I was talking about earlier about how when a movie like that knows what it is, and it knows that it's ridiculous, and it knows that it's being cliche, it just works.
And it moves at a clip because it is 87 minutes. And it's
and it never stops.
Next thing. Because then it's him fighting his hand, where he actually did that, where he actually flipped himself.
Yeah.
Busts all those plates, has the super graphics, like cutting his hand off, there's blood all over his face and the camera and everything.
Which, like, that scene, hats off to Bruce Campbell. Like, that had to be so hard.
Army of Darkness, when it's the little tiny ashes.
Yeah.
That was, I heard how that was described, and it was the most elaborate choreographed scene, and I gained so much respect for him as an actor, because he had to be like, the way that they did it was, he goes, I was having to fight myself, essentially. So he would like go to I would have to hit my mark perfectly on time when
Yeah.
they told me to hit it. Then I'd have to do it, act that part, hit my next mark on time. And if I fuck up that timing in any way, we got to restart the whole take.
Yeah.
And they had to do it like all in one, almost like as if it were a single shot or something like that. And it was super elaborate. And yeah, this movie made me fall in love with him because this is Sam Raimi abusing his friend for an hour and a half.
Right.
And it's amazing.
And part of him was like, how can I mess with Bruce? Like, how can I,
Well, there's parts when I've rewatched it and then I remember, oh shit, this is in this. Like
yeah.
Because I remember so vividly of the hand, cutting off the hand, putting the trash can, and then the book that is in the trash can is A Farewell to Arms by Stubby Keats. And I was like, good Lord. And then the hand running up the wall and flipping him off.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's great.
But then I totally forgot that all those people show up later.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that makes sense because we got to have a little bit more of a body count. So I was like, oh, it makes sense if we get some.
Right.
But yeah, that movie, and then we got the fucking Bertha thing at the end, where it's the big fat lady that was in the basement the whole time, and then her head, like it's so good. That movie's incredible.
I love. He opens the front door and just the blood rushes at him like. That's the second one,
the
right?
dude gets thrown in the cellar. Right? Is that what you're thinking of? And then they shoot the geysers of blood out of the cellar.
That might be it, yeah.
That's another thing, too, what I love about these movies, where there's an amount of blood that would never be in a human body.
Right.
Like, there's not that much blood.
Yeah, right.
I mean, yeah, we have 8, was it pints or whatever? Or 8 quarts?
Right.
But, like, no, because pints, that's not very much. But, yeah, either way.
You're not going to get a fountain.
Yeah, like a full-on geyser of blood. And then I love how they ran out of blood, so they used different material. And then they also did that so they could try and get around censors, and they never did. It was still NC-17. So then they had to make a new company, a fake company, to be the distributor so they can try and get an R rating. And it's like, and you look back at that movie, and it's like this. I mean,
that scared the shit out of me.
There's somebody that walked by the sliding glass door.
Ooh, that's
all this horror movies. It's scary.
It's got our adrenaline up.
Yeah.
All right.
But Army of Darkness, I think, is great too. I don't know. I mean, we've gone over an hour, so I don't know how much longer we're gonna go. But is there any?
It's the Spooktacular, Jake.
That's true. We can go. It's on my show. I can do it as long as I want. But yeah, the Evil Dead 2 and Ashley. Ashley and I were talking, and I was like, if you were to say what's your favorite movie, and I always said that like Anchorman is probably my favorite movie of all time. And she goes, I don't buy it. So then I was like, wait a minute, how do you say that you don't buy what I'm saying? She goes, because you don't talk about that movie nearly as much as you talk about something like Evil. And I said, well, maybe Evil Dead 2. And she's like, you've talked about Evil Dead 2 way more than Anchorman.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. And then I've gone out of my way. I've got all 4 movies, because I have the remake too. Did you ever watch Ash vs. Evil Dead?
I've seen, I think, the first,
because I have the first
season or two.
Movie, but
yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing. But yeah.
And that doubles down on what made it work, what made things work. And it's funny because they had to make it without referencing Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Because Universal has the rights to that.
Right.
So they had to pretty much say that movie didn't exist, which is fine. Yeah. I mean, you could do that because the movie is so different than all the other ones, where it's like, this was clearly the movie that Sam wanted to always make.
Right.
Was Army of Darkness, which is still great. And it's still... But it's its own thing. It still holds on a little bit of those horror elements, but it's more of like Jason and the Argonauts, like
absolutely
classic adventure.
Well, and I was talking to Jimmy about this the other day because he loves Army of Darkness, like absolutely loves it.
It's amazing.
And I said, as the third movie in the franchise, I'm not a fan of it. And it's the same thing that people have a problem with the third Halloween film because it's a standalone film,
which is what it was supposed to be.
Which is what it was always meant to be.
Yeah.
Now, if John Carpenter had just made Season of the Witch, I think it would have been a huge hit. And if Sam Raimi had made just Army of Darkness, I think I probably would have enjoyed it more. But it's just not, because, you want to see the Evil Dead. You want to see him in the cabin. You want to see the same thing over again.
We get Deadites in it, but it's mostly
it's very
skeletons.
Yeah.
And you still have Evil Ash, and you still have those like Evil Dead moments. But the second movie, I think, is really what they were trying to go with.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they do with Evil Dead Rises. I don't know if you know about that.
I don't.
That's a new one.
When is that coming out?
It was supposed to come out
Maybe I did hear about it.
It's supposed to come out this year, and then it was supposed to just be on HBO Max, but now it got delayed because they're going to put it in theaters. So that's exciting.
Bruce Campbell coming back?
No, I think I don't think Jane Lynch. Is it Jane Lynch? Yeah, she was
Levi.
Jane Levi. Jane Lynch is
Levy,
comedic
Levi?
actor. Yeah.
So is
Jane Levy. It's Jane Levy because she had she was the one in the remake. She was Mia. I don't think she's in it either. I think it's going to just kind of be a brand new,
like a standalone,
like a requel, a reboot sequel.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
But what they're doing to make it different is it's going to be in a high rise. That's why it's called Evil Dead Rises. Is it's going to be like the way that I heard the pitch was like The Raid, but Deadites. So she's got to like get out of this building filled with them, which is like, okay,
I'll watch it.
That's how you do something new.
Yes, because
that's how you do something interesting. Because
Yeah,
you can only do a cabin.
It's very similar. Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods.
Although, how many Cabin in the Woods movies are there?
You talked about how influential the series was on horror. I mean, they made a whole movie called The Cabin in the Woods.
Yes.
Making fun of horror tropes.
Yes. Oh,
which is a fantastic movie.
Oh, hello.
I already liked that movie, and then the third act where everything gets out made it even better. And I was like, how do you top this movie? My
favorite part of that movie is the guy that has not stopped talking about how he wants to see a mermaid gets killed by a mermaid. It's brilliant.
The fact that they're taking prop bets on that shit.
Yeah.
So
and like they're all celebrating and the girl's dying in the background.
The plot twist was the weed was too good and he was too perceptive. Yeah.
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.